All right, hey guys, what's up? It's Tim with the Juice Athlete Compound, and I am really excited to bring something to you that I've been thinking about for quite a long time and wanting to find a way to make sure I can deliver it really well for you and at a level that you guys will be proud of to bring to your coaches in your gym. And so I think I'm at a place where I can start doing that. And so I'm really excited, like I said, to bring to you our coaching and team development training. This is going to be part of just your regular monthly membership for facility program design. A big reason that a lot of people, I get to work with them doing the programming for their gyms, is to help leverage the time component of running a business. There's so many other things you have to do and hats you have to wear, people that you have to either please or help them understand the way you do things. It's a difficult job, and I obviously take it really seriously. That's why I get to do this with you, so that's really fun. The other part of it, I know that the ongoing coaching development, which I see is really different than staff development, is that staff development, in my opinion, is learning things like Zen Planner, mastering the phone or sales script, knowing all the SOPs for the business. These are all really important things, knowing what day, what events are, who's responsible for what, and things flow in the proper chain of command. Coaching development is really critical in my opinion, but it's somewhat different than that. Neither is better or worse. It takes all the parts to make a gym run. But in this area, I want to talk specifically about coaching development. So I won't be getting into very much of SOPs, money management, budgeting, phone skills, etc. We are going to dig really deep every month into a few things. And that's going to be coaching, communication, and leadership. So I'll always have a little module on this part, something on assessments or warm-ups for you and your coaches to go over to dig deep and to have some action plans and assignments with that. Bit preparation and exercise selection. These will most likely be out of the main focused areas of considering, like, let's say the 9 fundamental movements or similar ones. We'll be digging deeper into other areas to help expand everyone's knowledge base and exercise selection bucket they can choose from. And finally, into different training protocols, from strength training, energy system training, different resistance training, models of fatigue training, models of potentiality, etc., that we want to do here. So this is the overall idea of what we're going for. The second part I'll say is this could be done 2 ways. I really see it done. One would be to have the coaches have the info in advance. I'd have everyone get it in advance anyways. So that way you're not sitting there watching videos together like at school, that you're professionals. You should be able just to come in and talk about these almost like a graduate level seminar class at university would be kind of the thinking behind that. So it could be done in a one-time setting that probably would take about an hour once a month to dig deep in these. Could you take longer? Yeah, you could spend all year on them, I'm sure. I'm sure we could, just on communication, right? There's how many graduate level or PhD level programs talking about this. Sure, but we all know there's a lot of other things. You do have to go over staff development. You do have to go over gym numbers and financials and SOPs and people's roles and responsibilities. So that's one way. A second way would be, if you had weekly meetings with your coaches, is to chunk each part down and to attack one of them every week. So that could be something done a little with maybe a little less friction, but you have to have more meetings, obviously. In some places I know are doing that. So either one is fine. I do believe personally you should meet every month at minimum. My own team, we meet weekly, every week, Wednesday at 11 a.m. We are going over our stuff, and we have very similar things we do on this, and a lot of them we actually pull from here to give you some of the best. The other way to do it would just be to email it out to them and say, hey, read up on it. That would be really low drag, probably the lowest ROI also from it, in my opinion and experience doing this. But it's really here for you to help leverage your time. I know putting this together, how much time it takes. I know you're doing it, you know how much time it takes. So hopefully this either is a nice component to what you're doing. If it totally replaces it, that's fine. I'm not necessarily looking for that. But if that's the case, then hey, I'm happy to help you as much as I can do. So let's go from the top here, and I'll give you a little insight as gym owners and as coaches. This is something that you could share here with the coach and staff also about why we chose these and what some of the takeaways we're hoping to have from and for your discussions. The first one is on communication and leadership, and it's from a video called How to Speak So People Will Listen. And the general concept here is that when you have a micro community like your gym, right? Like your box have to say the words like hey, you know, kids, you're in the box, right? And it's like always so inauthentic when someone tries to use the words, right? That you have all these different groups. You have small cliques, you have people that have been there for a long time, you have some people that are really, really knowledgeable of it, you have coaches training together, you have people in relationships, you have people that have broken up, you have all of it. Sometimes people gossip, some people are harder to coach than others, some are incredibly bought in and they get frustrated by a new person not reaching depth, right? And they're like totally like at a 9 out of 10 frustration. There's all these different people to manage and to help them see what's powerful in your community and what's special about what you do. So this video focuses on both vocal and public speaking exercises, but what's really important for me is how to speak with empathy and connection to your members is from it. So it talks about being true to your own word, the example you are as a coach and how people view you, and then the way we recommunicate that back to them to help build more trust, right? The more trust we have as coaches, the easier when we do something maybe a little different and we say, hey, we're doing German body comp training for part A and it's going to include curls. And people are like, what the is going on, right? Or hopefully I see it as a spectrum. The more bought in people are, they're like, got it, chief, all good. And I'm sure you have seen that with your people. I know with athletes, some of my regional level or games level athletes, I might throw something weird at them, and the ones that are really bought in are great. Give you a quick story. When my Olympians from 2016, Stephen Lambden, we were looking for something for him to do before Olympic trials that was different. And we talked about Wim Hof. And I said, yeah, you should do this. It's breathing training. It might help you, half of 1%, but right now half of 1% is huge. And he flew to Poland to go work with him. So yeah, we do believe in this stuff. I do think that, the more of a trusted connection you have, the more people will follow you down the rabbit hole for their own good. So the discussion areas are to kind of talk about it as a group or individually. What are areas that people or your members are naturally attracted to listening to you? That's generally an area of your expertise, right? What are areas that you have a harder time holding people's attention, or your members especially? These are generally areas that in our lives we are not only incongruent with our values, but that other people notice we are incongruent. So if I'm eating donuts and I say, hey, it's donut day all the time, and even if I'm ripped, it may be hard to have people trust me for my nutrition advice, especially then if I'm not ripped, especially then now, again, I'm not living it and I'm not saying it. No wonder people may not listen to me or take me so seriously. And finally, what are the insights that gives you from your personal coaching development? Right? How do you work better? Do you go more in the specialty area? Do you need to work more on the areas that maybe people aren't listening to you? There's no right or wrong there. It's just for you guys to discuss that and then to have some additional skills as leaders in your community. Second part, we're talking assessment with my business partner, Dr. Jason Hahn. He is currently the head physical therapist for the LA Football Club. He is also PT for Cirque du Soleil, PT for the Pittsburgh Steelers when they won their last Super Bowl. He's my guy I go to anytime this comes up, and he's just absolutely incredibly a world-class knowledge base for this. So he does a short video, it's about 3 minutes long, and it's about helping some of your members with shoulder tightness and maybe some thoracic tightness get mobilized and activated for training. So watch the video on this. The takeaways, what I'm looking for is obviously identifying different warm-up and activation skills, but kind of taking it a step further, we see the videos, we have to run this in a class. Now, is this something that would be better done for your coaches with members on a one-on-one basis before class starts? Is it something that you can do in a group warm-up setting? Is it something that you could do, hey, 3 rounds for time, run 400, or 3 rounds for warm-up, run 400 meters, 10 wall ball, and then this thoracic rotation and shoulder mobility exercise? Or is it better at the start of the session? So I'm looking for that discussion to pull back the curtain a little more on why you do the things in the sequences that we do. What sequences may be out of order? What sequences, may give us more bang for our buck, right? And so that's something for you guys to discuss based on that. So the questions and practices are, how could you implement this assessment with an individual or in a group warm-up? who in your gym do you identify that this is appropriate for? Who are the people constantly complaining about tight shoulders when they go to overhead? They're here and they're not in really good alignment here, and you believe it's because of that, or because of thoracic or lumbar or hamstring tightness or immobility there. And would this be an appropriate exercise for them? And then the action is obviously practice with each other, but then practices with 3 members you've identified before class begins, because we want some reps on this, implementing it, and not just getting theory, right? A lot of us have a lot of theory, but I want coaches to be able to go out there on the floor and boom, now you can do this, versus, yeah, I know a lot of stuff. Well, help me with my squat. Well, I know a lot of stuff. Okay, help me with my squat, right? The next part is on movement and exercise selection. We're starting off with a Cossack squat from our friend Dr. Mark Chang. He is another world-class physical therapist. You can see kind of who I like to go to find some new things on movement. I like to live. I don't live in this world. I like to go and peek in and find some of the really smart people and have them tell me stuff and hopefully integrate it back into the whole program. So I wanted something not so, obviously like a front squat, very applicable, but there's a lot of stuff out there already on some of the major movements, so I thought it'd be good to start with some newer stuff that maybe isn't getting talked about quite as much. Cossack squat's a variation of a lateral lunge. If you're not familiar with Dr. Mark Chang, he was a strength and conditioning coach for the U.S. Olympic short track team for the last Winter Olympics. He also has a DVD series out. You've probably seen the commercial on TV for Tai Chang. It's really awesome, actually, for people with really bad injury history, movement history, etc. It's a Tai Chi variation that he created and kind of combined with physical therapy. So awesome stuff if you have maybe older relatives that, maybe even getting started in fitness world is very hard. It's a great thing for a lot of people there. The discussions in practice for this one is kind of looking at it critically and thinking, in your gym, what are the strengths and weaknesses of his approach? He's going to show you a range of ways to implement the squat, from just finding position through doing it self-loaded and then actual loaded through a full range of motion. What movements would doing Cossack squat in a warm-up or corrective or cool-down scenario be appropriate for? Meaning, if part A, part B of training is happening, which things might you say, hey, this would be a good one to add in here, but maybe not on these days. And again, I really want to always challenge coaches to look at this stuff critically, so that way, even though they have it done for them, that's just the plan. We know that the best laid plans, when they come into action, they come into actual battle, get changed. So I want you to be able to think on your feet and have the plan is when the magic happens. And finally, same thing, practice the sequence with 3 members you've identified either before class or after class, meaning before class if they need that for activation relative to the movements that you think this would be appropriate for. And again, on these, I don't have a right or wrong, there's no test sheet, and coaches are going to fail. You're failing. I'm really looking to expand everyone's knowledge here, get people to think even more critically, as I hope you already are, because you're in this world where we have evidence-based fitness, so we want to keep pushing that envelope forward. Finally, I take a sip of my water. Better than Marco Rubio, that's all I know, right? Training protocols. We want to talk about different parts here, maybe on strength training, energy system training, strength speed continuum, rep ranges, etc. All this part where now we're in kind of one of the main parts of the class. How do we do this? And this image here I noted is the same image from the article. I didn't make that image up, I wish. But the idea is, with our goal-based training tiers, right, we have fitness and function, which are similar yet different. Right? Similar in, obviously, a lot of the rep ranges and time under tension they want. Different in what the outcome we're desiring for, which changes the loading of it, right? Meaning, these are going to be the people here in this 40 to 70 second range, where muscular hypertrophy, motor control, and good movement patterning is key. Someone in fitness who, in my opinion, is coming out of, say, the Challenge 6-week on-ramp type program for you, this is where we want them to start, because they do need a good base of support to do this, but they don't need it because they're trying to add load really hard. They're doing it because they don't even know, they don't have the skills yet to front squat properly. Eventually, let's say if we want to do it for function, as in functional bodybuilding, it'll be generally the same rep range there, something where the reps and sets go to about 40 to 70 seconds of time under tension. But now we're loading it up heavy where it's like, this is very challenging. But because they have the base of support and they do have the movement patterning down, we can increase load, right? We have our performance ranges, and they talk about this where we're looking here generally 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 seconds of time under tension. We're looking for relative and absolute strength, and then functional hypertrophy would be the goal here. And then finally, in this article, we talk about relative and absolute strength. So things in the 0 to 20 seconds of rep ranges, and it talks about the differences of really probably 0 to 5, 0 to 10 seconds, where it is more neural based, meaning it's governed by your CNS, and the recovery is CNS based. That's heavy singles, heavy doubles, etc. Right? And then things that are, let's say a back squat for a set of 5 with maybe just a 2-second eccentric or just a fast set. It is still ATP CP based. Yes, it is neural, but not quite to the extent of just a heavy 1 rep would be. What I'm looking for in this article, obviously there's a lot of it that flows with how we do the programming for your gym based on these groups. Like I said, fitness function is generally 40 to 70 seconds of time under tension. Performance, a lot of it's in the 20 to 40 seconds of time under tension, some on the lower side on this far left, and a lot of it there really I'd probably say 20 to 30 is where they play a lot on that movement. And then for sport, they're going to be playing a lot more on the relative and absolute strength sides because they can express power, because they can they do have movement mastery with various movements, not just a narrow set of movements. So with that said, with regards to lifting and resistance, this is not energy system training for conditioning as far as conditioning spectrum is concerned. So when we see over here glycogen depletion, we see over here lactic acid buildup, I'll make sure we're not having this technically the same way as we would for broad conditioning factors. It would be a little different. There are tons of crossovers, but enough for today is that this is with strength as the goal here. How do these different rep ranges, the first question is, how do these different rep ranges, sets, recovery parts affect your members' personal goals? What are they coming in for? What do they want? What is the real reason they signed up for your gym? What do they need? And how do we then know how to steer them towards the right training? And that's why I don't do level-based training of if you're here, you have to do this and here. There's a lot of good science behind that. But for this, I'm more concerned with the training what they want to get out of it personally versus funneling them into a group. We're trying to say, you came here to look better naked. Okay, well, which program would you probably want to do? You're doing heavy singles all the time. You're wondering why your body composition may not be changing. So that's the input signal. We use nutrition to help fuel that change. Well, you're going to get a lot faster, but maybe that's not the body composition change you want. Or someone does want to be able to go RX in the open. What are their deficiencies? Where should they be playing with their strength training? Where should they be spending their time? How does this affect how you enroll members or customize their training for each day? Kind of same idea. That first one was a goal, and then how does that help you explain that to them to get buy-in from them? Back to our first part of communication. Next part, what is, with regards to these squat-based movements, all the options I put down here are squat-based. Let's see. Where does each prescription fit? So I want you to look at 7 squat cleans, 7 sets of 1.1. That's a cluster. Rest 5 seconds between each single. So squat clean, dump, back down, squat clean, boom, dump, rest fully before there. All these things will have full rest. Back squat, 6x3, 20x1 tempo. Where does that sit? Back squat, 5 sets of 5x7 reps, 30x1 tempo. Front squat, 4 sets of 8 to 10 at 31x1 tempo. And then wall ball for 35 reps or air squats for 60 reps. And then finally, German body comp. Where does that fit in on the spectrum here, especially the GBC? That's not so neat. And you'll see kind of why that's so effective. And you go, oh man, okay, there's a lot of good science behind this, how we're combining relative strength with functional strength with hypertrophy, training together and how to adjust on it. So that's the discussion there. I think there's a lot to be gotten from this part. Again, you could spend all day just on this, but again, coaching is more than just knowing the X's and O's. We want to have good movement variety and understanding, be able to make sure the movements we do are appropriate for them, and of course, communicate that well to our people. That's the August coaching and team development training. I would love to hear how it goes. I would love to hear feedback of things I could give better for you, or areas that you go, hey, Tim, this was great. I would also like this, or hey, this was good. This part may not be needed, or please just keep, we're down. You got it, we'll follow. All those are good things. I don't have an expectation in that. I just want to be able to make sure I'm giving you guys the best stuff we can for coaching development. And that is August of 2018. Next one will come up for September. And talk soon, guys. Have a great coaching session. Thanks.